Morris. Rest of you, besides Morris?
No.
Okay, nice to meet you, Peter. Nice to meet you, Isaac. You're welcome.
Nice to meet you too.
No.
To Yaaka, sign up with us for the long run. Let me wait for just one more minute for others to come. If they're there, then we shall start. I think we have lost Michael. Hopefully he'll be back. All right, let's go ahead and start. And then they'll see what we have been up to and continue from there. Okay. So what have you been up to as far as biology is concerned? What have you been revising lately or reading about in biology? Feel free to just unmute your audio and answer. What have you been reading about lately?
Me personally, I think of late I've tried enzymes. Is it nutrition, food nutrition, basically?
Circulation.
Circulation?
Gaseous exchange and respiratory system.
Okay, gaseous exchange and respiratory system. Awesome. So we shall go actually in the reverse order. So the one who says gaseous exchange and respiratory systems, we shall start with you. That's what I've prepared for you today. And then we shall move on like that up to when we reach nutrition. So I'm excited for this adventure. You guys will also have materials on EduCare. I will share the links in the notes that I'll send in the group. Please always be active in the group. Always look there for work, for activities and all that. Our websites have a lot of work, a lot of activities that you can access once you subscribe. So I hope you'll take that on and utilize it. Okay. So today we'll look at gaseous exchange. Let me try to see if I can share that right now. And then we can kick it off on that. Okay. Right. If you see a screen, please tell me if you see my screen. Let me know that you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see the screen.
Okay. to Yaaka, I'm glad to see you. I hope you subscribe to Yaaka for the rest of the year. Like I've said today, we'll look at gaseous exchange. When we're looking at gaseous exchange, when we're looking at gaseous exchange, we're looking at respiratory gases, or exchange of respiratory gases between the organism and the environment. It takes place across specialized surfaces called respiratory surfaces. Gaseous exchange helps an organism to get rid of carbon dioxide produced during respiration within cells, and at the same time obtain oxygen needed for aerobic respiration to occur. So basically that's the exchange of gases, respiratory gases, between the environment and an organism. Sometimes there are certain organisms that will be obtaining carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. Others will be obtaining oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. So it depends what type of organism you are, as we shall look at all those. So basically that is gaseous exchange. Now, as we move forward, please always feel free to unmute your audio and ask a question where you don't understand or if you have a concern. Okay. So we have various types of respiratory surfaces. These are just some examples. We have external gills, like this one in a tadpole or other organisms that look like this. We have internal gills. Internal gills, you can also find those in different fishes, like this crab here, looks like a crab. These ones have, they have internal gills, okay? And then we have lungs, okay? For the lungs, very many organisms have lungs, especially mammals. Like this rabbit here, like you have lungs. And then we have a tracheal system for the insects. The insects have those. So those are some of the types of respiratory surfaces. Other organisms can use their skin, and some have other specific organs. So those are the types of respiratory surfaces. You can ask questions if you have any. If you don't have questions, we can continue. Let's look at the characteristics of a good respiratory surface. The respiratory surfaces, most of them have a very, very large surface area to volume ratio. Now, what does that mean? When you look at something that has a large surface area to volume ratio, who can give us an example of two organisms and compare their surface area to volume ratio?
I think maybe a rat and a rabbit.
Which one has a large surface area to volume ratio?
The rat has a large surface area to volume ratio.
Exactly, that is very, very correct. So in most cases, biology students will confuse these two. Okay, it is likely to be confused. You might think that, hey, since it says a large surface area to volume ratio, there is a word large in there. So a bigger organism, of course, will have a big ratio. And that is not true. A smaller organism actually will have a bigger or a larger surface area to volume ratio. That is because when you compare the surface area of that small organism to its volume, which is small, that ratio becomes big. But when you have a very big organism, of course it's huge, it has a huge volume, okay? And when you compare its surface area to the volume, the ratio becomes small because of its large volume. Remember here, surface area is on top and volume is a denominator. So When the denominator is huge, that reduces the ratio. But when the one that is up is huge compared to the volume, then you just know the ratio will be huge. So most respiratory surfaces have a large surface area to volume ratio. This enables these surfaces to carry out diffusion of gases. Remember, we are looking at exchange of gases on these surfaces. So most of these surfaces achieve this type of ratio by folding or branching into structures. For lungs, in the lungs, we have alveoli. For the gills, we have gill filaments. For the trachea system in insects, we have tracheoles. All these foldings and branching provide a large surface area to volume ratio. The more you branch or the more they fold, the bigger is the ratio, which increases the diffusion of the gases. I hope that is understood. If you have questions, please ask. Okay. All right. The second one is they are moist to allow easy diffusion of gases. You see, gases will easily diffuse if the surface they are diffusing on is a little bit moist. Okay, that allows for diffusion. Okay. In most cases, they will dissolve fast for them to be able to diffuse through those surfaces. So the moist the surface, the better the diffusion. That's why these surfaces are always moist. They are thin-walled to reduce the distance over which diffusion can take place or has to take place. So these thin walls allow a shorter distance for diffusion, hence increasing the rate of diffusion, which is good for the organism since it requires those gases for respiration and other functions. They have a good network of blood capillaries for easy transportation of gases to the respiring tissues. This is important because if you don't have what is carrying away the gas once it diffuses, then you have clogging of those gases around the surface of the respiratory, that respiratory surface, and then that will cause other complications, which you don't want. So therefore, this is why you find that these respiratory surfaces have a high network of blood capillaries, so that once a gas diffuses, it is carried away immediately to be taken to the tissues or to the heart, which pumps it to other tissues or something like that. They are well ventilated to maintain a high concentration gradient that favors diffusion of gases. You'll find out that most respiratory surfaces have an opening to the environment. Okay, for example, for you, you have a nose and a mouth. All those are openings to the environment. An insect will have also the mouth and then spiracles. Okay, you see that opening to the environment provides the ventilation. The exchange of the gases is high, right? And most respiratory surfaces are like that. So these are the characteristics of a good respiratory surface, which is amazing to learn about. Okay, any questions on this? Please feel free to ask. You can just unmute your audio and ask. Okay, you can continue. If you can't hear me, please, if you can't hear me well, you also tell me so that I can probably increase my volume or do something about that. All right, this is another way to explain the characteristics that are shared by 4 respiratory surfaces as shown below. For example, these, as you can see, we have one for a worm, which is their skin. So you can see the circulation, the blood capillaries that are near the surface. This one is the trachea system in insects. Then we have the gills for the fish. Okay. We have the gills for the fish here. And then you have the lungs here for this lion here. So what are some of the shared characteristics? Gases are exchanged with the atmosphere, which is true. You can see the openings to the atmosphere. Everywhere there is an opening, okay? For this one is the nose. This one, you see this side here for the fish. I've forgotten how we call that bone there. So there's a bone there that opens up, and then you can see the gills. So you can see that that is a shared characteristic on all. There's an opening to the environment. Oxygen diffuses in and carbon dioxide diffuses out. So oxygen is in and carbon dioxide out. For all these require oxygen for respiration. That's why you can see that oxygen is coming in while carbon is getting out. Okay. The other characteristic is the respiratory surface has a moist membrane. Okay, the respiratory surface has a moist membrane. When you observe the nature of all these, the surface of the gills is always moist. Your lungs, the surface of your lungs is covered with mucus and other glycoproteins. The insects also has moisture in the trachea system. And then you can see, if you have seen the earthworm, you know how slimy it looks. The skin is so slimy, it's moist. All right. So that is another shared characteristic. The other one is the surface area for the gas exchange is large. We have seen the foldings. Okay. As you can see, the gills are folded. In the lungs, you have the alveoli. Okay. In the trachea system, you can see the branching. Right. The branching provides that. And then on this earthworm, you can see that it covers the entire body of the earthworm. It's not just in one place. It covers the entire body of the earthworm. This shows that there is a large surface area. It's the surface area to volume ratio we're talking about. So all these share that. The respiratory surface is surrounded by blood vessels. As you can see, that is another shared characteristic like we talked about. This one, you can see the blood vessels towards the skin. In insects, same thing. When you look at the lion, same thing. These are all blood vessels surrounding the alveoli. Okay, all those are blood vessels. And then when you open up the fish, you'll see the same thing around the gills. Blood vessels everywhere. This is to transfer the gases that are being exchanged. All right, any questions on this? If you have any questions, please ask. I'll pause a little bit for you to be able to ask. Okay, yeah, if you don't have any other questions, we can continue. Please remember, be active in your groups. You can always inbox me if you have a question. If you have a concern, please inbox me. Like I said, we have videos, images, very nice notes in our websites. I've put links in these notes. You'll see them at the end so that you can visit and check them out and consider subscribing to Yaaka or buy some of these things on Educare. The links will be included in these notes, so don't worry about that. Okay, let's continue. Today we'll concentrate mostly on gaseous exchange in plants. That's what we shall be concentrating on. When we're looking at gaseous exchange in plants, we see that plants do not have a respiratory surface for gaseous exchange. They only use pores, and these pores are called the stomata. These are found in leaves, and they also have lens cells, which are found on stems for gaseous exchange. So these are the two holes or pores that they have. They have the stomata and the lens cells for gaseous exchange. You don't have a specific respiratory surface that can help them carry out gaseous exchange or facilitate gaseous exchange. The gases circulate in the plant by simple processes of diffusion due to the abundant large intercellular spaces between, that make it, the diffusion faster. So the intercellular spaces facilitate the diffusion of the gases in the different parts of the plant. They don't have, let's say, per se, blood vessels that are specific that will take care of this transportation. They just utilize the air spaces. In the leaves, they have veins, but the veins do not necessarily transport the gases. They mainly do things like water and food. So for them, they utilize the air spaces mostly. Okay. Questions? Do you have any questions for me on this one? Okay, we can continue. Remember, if you have questions, you can always ask. So this is just a simple way to show you that for plants, the special, instead of them removing carbon dioxide, instead they take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. This is their normal cycle. You'll see that later in another cycle, they'll take in oxygen for other functions, for respiration. But here, mostly they'll take in carbon dioxide for what processes does carbon dioxide facilitate in plants? Who can tell me? What process does carbon dioxide facilitate in plants? You can just unmute your audio and say it.
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis, that is correct. Okay, that is the process which is facilitated by carbon dioxide in plants. So plants will need the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, which results into production of oxygen. Oxygen is taken out. Later, they use oxygen for respiration, but oxygen is taken out because it's not that good for the plants, as we shall look at that in respiration. Or actually, in a more detailed process of photosynthesis, we shall look at why oxygen is not that good for the plant while it is photosynthesizing. It limits the process of photosynthesis. So that's why it is always taken out, not stored anywhere to be used later. No, it's taken out so that we only have the minimum amount in the plant. This reduces the way it would affect photosynthesis. Okay, good. All right, this guy here, the way he's staring at the sky, he says, the one time that you think you saw carbon dioxide, but turns out carbon dioxide is a clear gas that plants absorb. So sometimes you can stare at the sky and you think you have seen carbon dioxide and you have this surprised face, but honestly, carbon dioxide is clear. You can't see it. So this guy was just hallucinating in the time. Anyway, let's continue. Plants do not need special respiratory surfaces and blood transport system because, so this is, these are the reasons why plants do not need a special respiratory surface or special respiratory surfaces and a blood transport system. So these are the reasons why. See, plants utilize carbon dioxide produced by the plant cells for photosynthesis, thus preventing accumulation. Okay, immediately they take in carbon dioxide, it is utilized for photosynthesis. So there is no accumulation. Therefore, we won't need like a transport system to collect it and then get rid of or whatever. So we don't need that. Plants produce oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis, which is then used in respiration. Okay, so the one that remains, the oxygen that is not taken out, the minimum amount that remains in the plant, it is used for respiration. Okay, therefore they won't need a transport system or a respiratory surface to get rid of it necessarily. Okay, plants have numerous stomata and lens cells that favor fast gaseous exchange. We see that on the leaf, both surfaces of the leaf, we have stomata there. And on the stems, we have lens cells. So therefore, there is constant exchange, continuous exchange of gases. Hence, eliminating the need for a respiratory surface or a blood transport system. They have a large intercellular spaces that favor the fast circulation of gases without blood. Like we talked about this, the intercellular spaces in the leaves and in the stems favor the exchange of gases. And that's why they don't need blood vessels or anything, because there are those spaces there where the gases can diffuse and go to the places where they are required. They have a low demand for oxygen due to their low metabolic rate because they are less active since they are immobile. This is why they need low oxygen, okay? That's why most of the oxygen is got rid of through the stomata and the lens cells, and only the minimum left, the small amount left, is utilized for respiration. And the respiration in plants is not that much of a high need because, like we have said, they have a low metabolic rate. They don't move. They don't have brains that they're going to use it to think or thought process or something like that. They don't. So they need only small amount of oxygen. And this is why they don't need the transport system to transport it all over the plant. They can do without it. They can do with the bare minimum amount. That's what I meant to say. Okay, very good. Any questions? Questions about this? Something that you've not understood or something you have concerns over? Ask. Okay, let's continue. So this is the basic structure of a leaf. And this is going to show us the different layers in the leaf, the pores where gaseous exchange takes place also. So on the leaf, we have the upper epidermis, which is right here. Okay, this place here, we call it the upper epidermis. All right, and then we have this mainly is for protection and it also carries out some photosynthesis, not that much, but it does. We have stomata there, but a few, not so many. We have the palisade layer, which is right here. This is the palisade layer. Okay, this place here we call it the palisade layer. This one mainly it is for photosynthesis. It has a lot of chlorophyll. A lot of chlorophyll. And then we have the spongy mesophyll. Now, this is where mostly the gaseous exchange you have been talking about takes place. This one specializes mostly in gaseous exchange. It also takes care of photosynthesis because it has chlorophyll, of course, but mostly it takes care of mostly gaseous exchange. Now, who can tell me the reason why the spongy mesophyll majors mostly in gaseous exchange? What do you see that makes it suitable for gaseous exchange more than these upper layers? Who can tell me why?
Because it is first.
Very good. That's very good, Bridget. I think that was Bridget, right? Yes, that is very correct. There are so many air spaces here compared to other layers. Okay, you can see spaces all over. This is space, space, space everywhere. And these are huge spaces. Therefore, gaseous exchange is easier here, okay, in the spongy mesophyll. In most plants, that's why you'll have more stomata on the lower epidermis than the upper epidermis, because this spongy mesophyll is near our next part, which is the stoma. Okay, so the stoma here is the one that allows air to be exchanged. Oxygen out, carbon dioxide in. Or at night, oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. Okay, it is this stoma here that allows that, and this is the space you're seeing here. This space here is the stoma. We have more stomata on the lower epidermis than the upper epidermis in most plants, and this allows them to save or conserve water while carrying out gaseous exchange. If they were up, too much water would be lost during gaseous exchange, but we don't lose water because they're down here. Another one is right here, and you can see gaseous exchange also taking place. And that's the function of the stomata. Okay, here we have a vein. I talked about the vein. Here, mostly, like I told you, there is no much gaseous gases being transported. Transport mostly water, okay, water and photosynthetic products. Water and photosynthetic. Those are the ones that are transported in the veins of a leaf. Okay, so that's it. We see that when stomata open, carbon dioxide goes in, right? Water vapor goes out. Okay. What process do we call this when water vapor is getting out of a plant? Who knows that process?
It is called transpiration.
Okay, transpiration, correct. Okay. So water vapor goes out by that process of transpiration once the stomata open, and then also oxygen goes out. So the only thing we're taking in here is the carbon dioxide. Okay. Now, when stomata are closed, there is no movement whatsoever. Okay. There is no movement. Nothing is getting out. Nothing is going in. Right. So that's the process. That's the gas exchange in plants. Please ask questions if you have any. Okay. If there are no questions, we can continue. This one, here. If you're or you also want to, if you find plants sad, please try to photosympathize with them. I don't know how you detect how sad they are. That's up to you. All right, let's continue. So this is just another drawing to explain to us how gaseous exchange occurs in plants. So we have carbon dioxide and oxygen diffuse in and out of the leaves through the stomata that we have seen. We have, for example, here that we have a high vapor, so therefore that needs to move out, and it does through the stomata. Then you can see here that we indicate that there's a low carbon dioxide content. That means we need carbon dioxide to enter here. Okay, need carbon dioxide to enter. In most cases, you find that oxygen is a lot also in here. So oxygen will also get out, especially when photosynthesis is taking place, because we know oxygen is a byproduct of photosynthesis. So carbon dioxide is used in photosynthesis and produced by respiration, whereas oxygen is used in respiration and produced by photosynthesis. Those two are kind of opposite to one another. So when a respiration is taking place, we shall have high oxygen in here if it is respiration taking place. No, not really. We shall have high carbon dioxide, not oxygen. We shall have high carbon dioxide if respiration is taking place. Therefore, we shall need to take away this carbon dioxide, but in most cases, carbon dioxide doesn't move out. It is just stored in a certain form in plants. Okay, it is stored, or if it is too much, then it can move out. But in most cases, just stored. When respiration is taking place, we have said oxygen will be a lot if photosynthesis is taking place. So therefore, if it is a lot, it has to move out through our stomata. All right. Any questions? We have videos explaining all these things. We have activities and assignments on our websites. If you sign up, you'll find these really nice. We have some interactive content and in our content and courses. So if at one time you so in some cases you see that
Sorry about the network problem. I think the teacher is rejoining. Let's be patient for a while. Meanwhile, hopefully everything is going on well. Yes, Joseph, your hand is up. You can talk to us. Joseph? Joseph Divine, talk to us. Oh, you are not hearing. Morris, so far, how is the going?
They're going. It's okay.
Okay. He's rejoining. Charles Charles Eager, your audio is off. I don't know whether you can hear us. Good afternoon, Emma.
Afternoon.
Okay, you are from the teacher well?
Yeah, quite a nice lesson.
Yeah, I think he's back. Teacher Solomon, you can take it on.
How was I disconnected? I was confused.
Sir, your network is poor.
Okay, can you guys hear me now? My network was poor.
Yes. Yeah, we can hear
Is
you.
it still poor?
No, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Joseph Divine, you have your hand up. Do you want to say something? Divine, you have your hand up. Do you want to say something? I don't know if you can hear me. You can unmute your audio if you have something to say, please. Oh, okay, you can hear now. Okay, I've seen your text. All right, so let's continue. I think my network was disturbing. Okay, I think I ended when I was. Let me see. I think I was on this image. The image of cutting these things in half and then they're screaming. Let's look at the stomata and see what it's made up of. So on the stomata, remember the stomata is found in plants and in plants on the leaves, okay, on both surfaces, more on the lower surface. And this is how it looks like. This is the cross section. We have the stomata, that's we have the guard cells. This is one guard cell. Of course, it has been cut since it's a cross section. And then this is the other. Guard cells can carry out photosynthesis. They can respire also, provide the energy for opening and closing. So they have a lot of mitochondria and chloroplasts. And then these are the surrounding epidermal cells. These right here. So that's the stoma, that's the structure of the stoma. Here you can see we have a more detailed one, which is a surface view. We have the nucleus inside the guard cells. We have, of course, the stoma. We have the chloroplasts. Okay. And then we have the thickened inner wall of the guard cell, which is right here. This is what makes them very special. And then we have the epidermal cells. And then, of course, the guard cells. So that's the general structure of the stomach. First remove this. I have a tree here that looks very angry. I don't know what happened to it. Also, when you find a very beautiful tree that has grown well, instead of calling it handsome or a beautiful tree, just call it a treesome tree or something like that. If you want to. This tree is treesome because it's huge. Let's continue. So today that's what we've looked at. Gaseous exchange in plants mostly, and gaseous respiratory surfaces. That's what you have concentrated on. Thank you for attending. I hope you subscribe to Yaaka for more lessons like this. And here are the websites, Yaaka, and go through our courses and see how they can benefit you. And also we have Edcare, where you can find so many resources that you can purchase. Please feel free to inbox me and ask questions. I'll send these notes, this PowerPoint to you in the group, so stay active. And if you have questions, please you ask, okay? If you have questions right now, you can still also ask. I'm here to answer them. Something you want clarification on or something you have not understood, please ask.
Yeah, you can check in the chat section.
Okay, we are not seeing the chat section. Can you send the notes? Oh yeah. These ones are, like I've said, I'm going to send Morris. Don't worry about it. Just be active in the group. You'll see it. You see the notes. Any other questions? Okay, well done.